The name Sir Christopher Edward Nolan is not unknown. The man who's directed a new film every couple of years has built quite a name for himself ever since Memento, released in the year 2000. But it didn't start there. Today, we will look at 5 of his films and go through what makes Nolan stand out from other directors and how he influenced the filmmaking industry. Christopher Nolan had started making many movies as a young boy with his father's old 8mm camera, and his interest in learning continued to grow throughout high school and college, despite being an English major, not a film major. By 1998, he had scrounged up $6,000, which was enough money to make his debut indie feature-length film called Following, a neo-noir thriller that centers around a nameless writer who gets too close to the strangers he takes inspiration from. It was completed by hiring family and friends as cast and crew, and using family houses as sets for free. It'd be shown at international film festivals and give him enough funds to write and produce Memento 2 years later, which would get his name on the grid. He'd then go on to write, produce, and direct a multitude of films, most of which would attain multiple nominations, if not win awards, in their respective categories. Memento, Interstellar, Inception, and Oppenheimer all follow a non-linear story layout, a trademark of Nolan's. The cross-cutting and intermingling of the past and present in both Oppenheimer and Interstellar builds tension. Memento's backwards layout gives us a way to connect with the main character's memory loss. Nolan thrives on shooting on IMAX for storytelling aspects as well as a crisp look. When talking about the 40mm paranoia lens, Oppenheimer's director of photography, Hoyt van Hoytema, says, "You very obviously invade someone's space. As a watcher, you can really understand the proximity of the camera." I also just like to think that Nolan prefers IMAX over digital for the fact that we are very much in a digital era, and he just wants to keep the wonder of film alive. He also strives to use as many practical effects as possible, like shooting on location, which would include flying the cast and crew of Interstellar to Iceland to represent and embody Dr. Miller's planet, and actually burning hundreds of acres of corn for a pivotal moment in the middle of the climax. Chris's second film in the trilogy of another Batman adaptation, The Dark Knight in 2008, shows not only his groundbreaking strategies, but his trust in talent's decisions when maneuvering their characters. It is said that he gave Heath Ledger heavy input choices when choreographing and directing the Joker's hostage scenes. The Dark Knight shows Batman's obsession with justice, and how the Joker did everything he could to be a true agent of chaos. The film made societal statements of how there's always a high cost for justice, but even more so when dealing with somebody so unpredictable. Inception, in 2010, showcases another character with a mental and emotional obstacle, Cobb, and the image of his late wife. This goes along with another brand of Nolan's, as we see the Joker with his psychopathy, Oppenheimer with his morality, the main character in Following with his stalking, and Cooper regretting his decision not to stay. Don't let me leave, Merv! One of the things that we learn as directors in the film industry is to aim to make your sets inviting, enough to the point of people wanting to come back and work with you again. Cillian Murphy, Michael Caine, Hans Zimmer, and Christian Bale all keep coming back to work with Nolan, and it could be because he was vague in his film pitches when it came to casting and the soundtrack. When hearing Nolan's first thoughts about a theme for Interstellar, Hans Zimmer didn't even know the plot of the film, only understanding that he needed to create a bond between father and child.
What I wrote for Hans to get him started was some dialogue that I'd written for the film mixed with some ideas behind the film, without any indications as to genre or scale, just to free him up from that.
Before Matthew McConaughey was cast, he and Christopher Nolan sat down for about 2 hours to discuss Interstellar, and he walked away not even grasping half of the story.
We got in his office and we talked for 3 hours. Not one word about the film, not what it was about. I came away knowing nothing else about the film than I came in. We talked.
I think Nolan uses obscurity to reel people in when recruiting, which I think is quite unique. And there we have it. Christopher Nolan's filmmaking and directing techniques and trademarks, all from an interest in his father's 8mm camera and a want to learn on his own. It just goes to show how far we can go if we follow that spark, no matter how small. I learned a lot through reading synopses and watching behind the scenes of movies that I'd spent so much time fawning over, and I can't wait to see how he tackles The Odyssey, which will come out later this year in June. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.